welcome to the Gary Dunn Show for October 25th, 2016. I'm your host, Gary Smith. And on today's show, we're going to take a look back at this Saturday's wet and cold homecoming game against Gannon. Then we're going to switch gears and look forward to this coming week's opponent, Mercyhurst, and look around the PSAC for scores, standings, and all the fun stuff that goes with that. And without further ado, Coach, welcome to your show once again. Beautiful October day, but we're the Tuesday after homecoming, so that means we're getting to the nitty-gritty part of the season.
Absolutely. Great to be back for another week and great to get another win under our belts this week.
I'm sorry, saw something on the monitor there. I got a little distracted. We were talking a little bit off camera. This past weekend was homecoming, your first homecoming back as head coach of the Vulcans, and a lot of people coming back to see the game and a lot of former players, and
yeah,
it was a great atmosphere on Saturday.
Absolutely. Great to have the alumni back, especially. We had a lot of guys from the '84 championship team that were here. A lot of older alumni. I think I had 8 or 10 guys that I played with that were back. So homecoming is a special place here. All the activities, the parade, everything that goes on, and everybody involved in homecoming does a great job. And, of course, cap it off with the football game, and good to get a win, but great to have the alumni back. I went out after the game and spent some time with all the alumni, and just a fun time to be around.
And what was it like for the players that came back from that '84 team? That's a legendary team in California history. Just to see what the program has transformed to, and also what was it like for the players to kind of interact? Because those players from the '84 team kind of are where they did what this team is trying to do in the 2016 season.
Yeah, they were awesome. They were very complimentary of our guys and how things are going this season, but just how the program is in general. It was special to have those guys back, and it's great for our guys to see guys come back and see guys on the sidelines. We had Terry O'Shea, who was a former All-American and a guy that played for the Pittsburgh Steelers on the sideline. He actually came to practice on Friday, so it's great for our guys to meet former players and start to build that bond, because once you're a Vulcan, you're always a Vulcan, and for those guys to be able to spend time with our guys is crucial.
And I tell you what, Coach, on Saturday, if you came to the parade or were anywhere in Western Pennsylvania on Friday and Saturday, horrible weather, but I don't know what phone calls you made, because about 2 o'clock, the skies, I wouldn't say they parted to let the sun in, but they turned the rain off, and it was a cold day, but a great afternoon for football against a Gannon team that we talked about last week, probably a lot better than what their record was, and they proved to be a tough opponent, and that was a great job of your team to just get out. Not every win is going to be a Picasso. Some of them are going to be finger paints on the refrigerator, and you got a hard-fought win and a necessary win.
Absolutely. Gannon is playing good football right now, and I thought they came in with a good plan against us, especially their defense. But we talked to our guys about it being a total team win. The offense struggled a little bit early, and the defense really held and kept us where we needed to be in that first quarter and second quarter, got us a big turnover. And I really thought special teams, we came back to being who we've been all year. We didn't play our best game special teams-wise against Clarion, and our guys will tell you that, but we recommitted to it this week and thought special teams were a big factor of that game. And of course, our defense is just playing phenomenal. And then we kind of got things rolling offensively. It took a little longer than we had hoped or wanted, but at the end of the day, we'll take a 21-point win over a really, really good football team.
And I tell you what, a lot of, if you watch a lot of TV and coaches shows and anything like that, it seems like one of the things that you always hear is that, you actually learn a lot more about your team from a close game and some adversity than you do from a blowout. And like when we were doing the highlights yesterday, it surprised me that, because I was in the flow of the game, that it was really a 7-0 game going into halftime, and then for your team just to come out in the second half and take care of business by 21 points. That's very impressive.
Yeah, we struggled early, partly because Gannon was doing a great job. I thought that, like I said earlier, they had a good scheme and we're kind of taking some things away. But we had the big touchdown at the end of the first half to kind of give us that 7, to make it 14-7. Marcus Prather came in when Mike Keir got banged up a little bit and threw a big touchdown pass to Luke Smorey. And that's been us all year, is at the end of the half kind of grabbing momentum. We did it against IUP. We did it against Slippery Rock. And come out, defense got a big 3-and-out, and we punched another one in. So before you know it, it's 21-7, and then we kind of started rolling from there. And
you took the question right out of my mouth when Prather came in. That was a key part of the game, because it was a scary hit from a fan's perspective that Michael Keir took. And then, you never know in that situation what's going to happen. But I tell you what, Prather stepped in and looked like he had been back there all season. That was a heck of a read to get that touchdown on that slant pattern.
Yeah, we talked to our guys about, obviously everybody wants to play on Saturday and everybody wants playing time, but you've got to be ready when your number's called. And Marcus did a great job last week in practice. Probably got more reps last week than any week and was really locked in last week in practice. And we got confidence in him. He does a nice job and came in and gave our guys a big lift. And I think it's a great example for the rest of our team. When your number's called, you got to go in and produce. And he did that and gave us a big lift going into the half.
And on the ground game, another hard sledding game by your running backs. That's 2 weeks in a row. They've done a great job controlling tempo, moving the line. Not just them, but the offensive line moving people out of the way.
Yeah, and again, it's playing, that's what's so exciting and fun about college football. We go up to Clarion 2 weeks ago, and they're playing two high safeties all night long and keeping us in front of them, and we ran for close to 300 yards or over 300 yards. Gannett came in with the exact opposite philosophy, that they were going to stop the run. We weren't going to run. They were outnumber us in the box in every situation. But we're committed to the run game because we have great confidence in our offensive line, and we got great confidence in our back. So even though it may not have worked early, we still kind of pounded it, and eventually Nickerson spit a couple big runs that really helped us in field position.
And that's something I've noticed the last couple of weeks doing the stats before the game. One of the stats we always do is time of possession. And each week, your team's number goes up and up and up. I think the beginning of the year is like 27, 28 because all the quick scores. But last couple of weeks, doing a really good job of controlling tempo and keeping the other team's offense on the sideline.
Yeah, and I think part of that's our defense. Mm-hmm. They get off the field pretty quick, so that gives us extra possession time, and I thought that was really the case Saturday. We turned the ball over early in the first half on our side of the field, and the defense made a huge stop, and then special teams got a big play by forcing a missed kick. Mm-hmm. And that's what we talked to our guys about is every play, and that was a big part in that game too. But the defense getting off the field quick is kind of helping us in that time of possession.
And real quick, before we go to our highlights from Saturday, we had a milestone. Gary Brown became the all-time leading pass catcher in California history. What was that like? I mean, because he set records a couple times this year, but just the sheer volume of catches he's had in his career is just impressive.
Kind of funny, and I'm not really a stats guy, and I kind of knew that. I read that somewhere before the game started. But the neat thing about it is he broke Perry Kemp's record, and Perry Kemp was in attendance on Saturday. So we probably should have stopped the game and brought Perry down on the field because he's a big supporter of ours and loves Cal football. So I'm sure he was excited for Gary. But that just tells you the type of career Gary had. He broke a guy's record that I don't know how many years Perry played in the NFL with Green Bay, but it was quite a few. To break that record is very special for Gary and just tells you the kind of career he had and how proud of him we are.
Well, he might have lobbied to get a jersey on to get a few more catches in that game. But a great afternoon, a great homecoming win in the cold on Saturday. Let's take a look back at the win against Gannon. You're watching the Gary Dunn Show right here on CUTV.
Exciting Vulcan football is back this fall. September 10th at Cheney. September 17th versus Millersville. September 24th at Seton Hill. October 1st versus Slippery Rock. October 8th versus Indiana. October 15th at Clarion. October 22nd versus Gannon. October 29th at Mercyhurst. November 5th versus Edinburgh. November 12th versus East Stroudsburg. Catch all the action on CUTV and WCAL. CUTV's High School Football Game of the Week. Springdale at Jeff Morgan. Avella at California. Bell Vernon at Ringgold. Greensburg Central Catholic at Charleroi. Waynesburg at Southmoreland. Baldwin at Connellsville. Beth Center at Brownsville. Fraser at Bentworth. Bishop Canavan at Carmichael. The longest running high school coverage in southwestern PA is on CUTV.
CUTV News Center is California University of Pennsylvania's award-winning student television newscast. Your source for live, local, late-breaking news. Forecasts from the CalU Weather Center. The region's latest entertainment news. Vulcan sports highlights and regional scoreboards with television news coverage you can't get anywhere else. Watch it live Thursdays on CUTV and on demand. CUTV News Center, online all the time.
To the near side. He's going to fake that way, go towards the middle of the field. He has Luke Smorey over the middle. He shakes off his defender, keeps on his feet. It looks like he has room going all the way down the field, down to the 10, 5, and right off the bat on the first play of the game, the Vulcans getting a touchdown. Condis going to attempt a field goal right here, and it is blocked right here by the Vulcans. The kick is going to be up, and it is going to be good. This one is going to be blocked again by the Vulcans. It is blocked off the bottom of the field goal post. And Harris is going to hand it off to Franklin, and he extends his streak. Didn't even get touched as he walks into the end zone, and the Vulcans get back on the board again. So second and goal from the 8. They fake the handoff. Rolling out is Emmerich. He goes towards the end zone. And this one is caught, and it is a touchdown, Mercyhurst. Harris gonna go back to pass towards the corner of the end zone. This one is there to Gary Brown. It is caught for the touchdown. Weaver fakes the handoff, back to pass towards the corner of the end zone, and it is caught. Jaquan Williams with the touchdown reception. Harris giving it to Franklin. Franklin following his blocks, and he's going to get to the corner of the end zone. Touchdown for the Vulcans. The I formation hands it off right here. Robinson fighting and following his blocks into the end zone. Touchdown, Mercyhurst. He's going back to pass, rolling out toward his right. Pressure's coming. He's hit as he throws, and it is intercepted. And that is Chaz Beal on senior day making the interception. Running as fast as he can down the field. Gets away from a defender. Keeps rolling. Down to the 15, 10, 5. And he gets tackled down. Almost got a touchdown.
And welcome back to the Gary Dunn Show on CUTV. I'm your host, Gary Smith, joined as always by Coach Dunn. And Coach, we saw highlights of last year's Mercyhurst game on senior day at Adamson Stadium. We were talking a little bit off camera. Mercyhurst is a team that is always going to play every down, and you pretty much got to pack a lunch and get ready to be up in Erie.
It really, and that last clip kind of shows you a little bit about Mercyhurst. There was 20 seconds left to go in the game. Kid breaks a long touchdown or a long interception, and offensive lineman catches him. That's the thing that really jumps off of the film on you. It's just how hard they play, no matter what the score is, what the time of the game is. They're going to give you everything they got. I think their coaching staff does a tremendous job of having those guys play sound, disciplined, hard, physical football. So it's definitely going to be a challenge going up there.
And they're a team, a lot of places in the PSAC, a lot of stadiums are pretty similar, but I think Mercyhurst is one of those schools that really does have a home field advantage. They play they're a lot different at home than they are on the road. Just on film, because I know we're Tuesday morning here when we're shooting the show, on offense, what are some of the looks that they have?
They're probably a little bit different than the other teams that we've seen. They're more of a two-back power waggle, bootleg team than a lot of spread offenses now. So they like to run the football and then get you to come down and commit to stopping the run and throw it deep off of that. So very good offense. They're balanced. I think they're running for a little bit over 100, throwing for 250 or so averaging about 350 a game. Balanced offense, but they do create some problems by their scheme.
And we were talking, with the highlights running, you said they're a team that, against Slippery Rock and a couple of their games, they were down early, but they fought back hard.
Yeah, it's amazing. You watch the Slippery Rock game. Slippery Rock kind of gets out early on them, and they kept calling and fighting and got back into the game. Really, the same thing last week against Seton Hill, and they beat Gannon in a big rivalry game and scored a bunch of points against the defense that we saw last week is pretty good. So. California hadn't had great success at Mercyhurst too, so we've talked to our guys about that yesterday. We're going to have to play 4 quarters of football because 1, they're not going to let up, and 2, they're a good football team at home.
And we talked about the offense, but on the defense, on the first segment we talked the 2 weeks ago against Clarion, we saw, the team trying to take out the passing attack. On last week, we saw the team trying to take out the running attack. What did they do on the defensive side of the ball? What are some of the looks that the teams have to look at?
Multiple defensive fronts, and I think that they try and create confusion that way. They'll run a 3-man front very similar to Gannon last week, but they also jump into a 4-man front. So we've got to really be disciplined in our roles, in our keys, and our reads because we do get a bunch of different looks from this bunch. But they're going to try and stop the run. That's Mercyhurst is built on trying to stop the run, and so we're going to have to take advantage of that and be able to complete some passes to our guys and trying to get them to get a favorable number in the box. And
this Saturday it's going to be weird to say the game time's at noon. Since the last couple of weeks we've had a 3, a 6, a 7, and I think there was another 3. I think Seton Hill was at 3:30. So it's nice to get back to a traditional 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock noon start, but it's on the road. Does that change the routine at all?
No, it is funny. I think the last 6 or 7 games we'd had a different start time, so we're used to it. We just kind of fit our schedule on when we eat our pregame meal and what time we leave to the stadium. So our guys have done a great job of not letting things like that be a distraction to us. This is the first 12 o'clock start of the year. This is a little bit different, than some of our earlier games. That just means we got to get up an hour earlier and be ready to play an hour sooner than some of the other ones. But our guys have done a good job with that kind of stuff, and I don't think this week will be any different.
And this week, this game is Saturday at Mercyhurst, 12 o'clock noon. Multiple ways you can keep up with the action. I mean, obviously the best way would be to put on your red and black winter gear and drive up to Toluo Field. But if you can't make the trip, you can listen to it live on 91.9 FM WCAL, or you can watch the live CUTV feed on our YouTube channel, CUTV Sports 1. But before we end, we got about 10 more minutes, and we always have to go through and look at what happened around the PSAC because, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, we're at that point, Coach, where, there's not a lot of Saturdays left on the schedule before the end of the season. So let's take a look back at last week's scores in the PSAC West first. IUP over Clarion, 42-17. Edinburgh continuing their good turnaround this year, beating a tough Slippery Rock team, 37-35. And that was a game, Coach, that came down to the last tick of the clock pretty much.
Yeah, scored on the last play. Actually got an untimed down and had a penalty on the last play of the game against Slippery Rock, untimed down, and Edinburgh did a nice job punching in there for the big win. The Indiana-Clarion game was closer than the score seemed. Clarion was winning at halftime, and I think down 3 with a couple minutes left to go in the third, so that was a close game.
And if you look in the bottom right, the Seton Hill and Mercyhurst, this one week's Spurn Mercyhurst putting up 45 points against the Seton Hill team. Now that must have been a stat person's nightmare right there with the amount of points scored.
Yeah, Seton Hill jumped out early, like I said, and Mercyhurst just continues to play for 4 quarters and did a nice job. And, of course, you got our score, which is the important one
That's
up there.
That's the best one up there.
That's right.
And let's take a look at what happened on the other side of the state. Kutztown in a tight one. That score, whenever I saw that the other day, jumped out at me. But it just goes to show, any game is any team. Lock Haven's a team that's been down this year, but Kutztown trying to maintain their grasp on the top of the PSAC East.
Yeah, it's tight game, but at this time of year, it's just win and move on. You don't care how you get it done. You just gotta get the W and move on to the next one.
And Westchester over Cheney, and then you see Shippensburg over Millersville 43-9, and then Bloomsburg over East Stroudsburg. And let's take a look at the PSAC West standings after the 5th week of divisional play. And that's always a good sight seeing California up top 5-0, 7-0. Edinburgh, IUP right there at 4-1, 4-1.
Yeah, it's this is going to come down to you got to play all of them. And our focus right now is on Mercyhurst and try and get a W up there, which has been an extremely tough place for California to play in years past. And so we got full steam ahead on Mercyhurst.
And moving over to the PSAC East, Kutztown 5-0. They started the season 0-3 and have run off 5 straight divisional wins to really make that race, because really Kutztown, Shippensburg, and Bloomsburg all right there.
Yeah, it's funny. They started out 0-3, and 2 of those games were against the PSAC West. So that'll kind of tell you the grind that we're going through right now. But yeah, it looks like Kutztown in control over there. Shippensburg's playing really, really good football right now, and Bloomsburg had another big win this week.
And now we're at the time of the season where not only do the divisional, thank you guys, the regional rankings first came out. With 3 weeks left, you see California. You always want to be in the top 7, but California starts the first regional rankings at number 2. So that's a great thing to see.
Well, the thing I look up there that says October 24th.
Yeah.
And so that's the date that I'm looking at. This really doesn't mean anything until we get a couple weeks down the road. I know you got to talk about it on TV, and Matt Kiefer, our sports information director, said I got to put it out on the website. I said we really don't buy into that over in our office. We let everybody else worry about those, and we'll see where we stand in a couple weeks.
Well, the one thing too, Coach, you see, look at the records. Are 8-0, 7-0, 7-0, 8-1, or 8-0, 6-1, and 3 teams in the PSAC West. So we've been saying it all year that the West is a grind, but I mean it's a really good region this year across the board.
Really is. Just knowing some of the games in D2 this week, Fairmont State and Notre Dame College play this Thursday, so it'll be interesting to see who wins that one. But like I said, it does say October 24th. Yep. We'll check back at November 12th, I guess, is when we're going to worry about that one. November 11th, November 12th, somewhere in there.
That's the important one because just a reminder, it's changed a little bit in the last couple of years. Last year, the NCAA added a 7th team in each super region, so the number 1 team gets a bye the first weekend, and then 2 would play 7, 3 would play 6, and then I can't think of the rest of the numbers, but a typical bracket. So like Coach said, a few more weeks before that, but definitely good. It's better to see your name on there than not on there, I would assume. So, but Coach, we have just a few more minutes here. Just talk a little bit about just how this ride has been so far. I mean, we're through homecoming, and usually on the semester side of it, you look at homecoming to be the over the hump period. For your season, you've been over the halfway point for a week or two now, but now that you and your team can see the end of the season and certain goals can come into play. Obviously you want to win the PSAC West, PSAC, and move on. What does that mean to you that you can finally start seeing the end of the season?
Yeah, and again, old coach speak on you, but we're worried about Mercyhurst. Yep. But I will tell you this: it's been a fun time. We talked to our team yesterday about recommitting to everything that we're doing because it's human nature by this time of the year. We've been doing this for 12, 13 weeks, counting training camp, and sometimes things start to slide, and maybe it's not as important week 8 as it was week 1. But I really thought our guys, we went up to the field yesterday at 6 o'clock. It was chilly out. I thought we had one of our best workouts. We had guys that were pushing each other, arguing with each other a little bit to give better effort on a Monday in helmets. We've got really good leadership on our team. There's guys like Aaron Terry and Juwan Turner and Gary Brown and Mike Keir and Taylor Nickerser that understand what we're trying to accomplish. And it's for us, we talk to our guys that it's about the process. It's about preparation each week and focusing in what we've been saying, 1 week schedule all week and really focusing on California. And I was very impressed with our guys, and I think that they're really locked in right now. And just fun guys to be around. Our coaches, you come over to our office every morning, we're all smiling just because we like being around our guys. They're really good kids that are working really hard, and it's just a fun time right now.
I tell you what, from a fan's perspective, it's been a fun season to watch so far, and hopefully there's a lot more football this season. But this weekend it is at Mercer's. Real quickly before we go, here's the PSAC schedule for this week.
I hear Erie's beautiful in the fall. If anybody would like to join us up there, Erie, Pennsylvania is beautiful in the fall. Anxious to see that Indiana-Gannon game. Slipper, a good slate of games this week in the PSAC. Kutztown and Shippensburg's going to probably come down to the eastern side over there.
Yeah, it's definitely if you want to the key to Saturday, you want to go up to Mercyhurst, watch the game, cheer on the Vulcans. And keep your phone on score updates because there are a lot of big games there, a lot of important games. Every game is so important right now as you're coming to the end of the season. But honestly, it's not a bad drive to get up there. It's about 2.5 hours. Get yourself a nice coffee, a few coffees, and enjoy the fun because, like I said, it's been a tough place to play, and it's Halloween, the closest weekend of Halloween we have. So let's try and exercise some demons up there this weekend.
Absolutely.
Coach, thanks a lot for being here as always. And like I said, fans, if you can't make the trip, we may forgive you if there's a note, a doctor's excuse, but you can watch the live broadcast on our CUTV channel, CUTV Sports 1, and the key to there, go to that YouTube channel and click subscribe, and every time we do a game live or upload a archive game or a hype video or highlights, you'll get that notification and can keep right up as real time as possible. Or if you're in the car driving around enjoying the foliage this weekend, you can listen to the live call 91.9 FM WCAL. So for Coach Dunn, I'm Gary Smith. We'll see you next week. You're watching The Gary Dunn Show right here on CUTV.